Hello everyone and welcome to the Rift. Today we have a bunch of new cards. That's right, it's reveal season and we are getting a ton of new cards to look at and to play with. There's a lot to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it. But first, if you want to stay up to date with card reveals, then you'd better make sure to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the content, then make sure to like this video. And if you want to start playing Riftbound right now, then you can, using the resources provided in the video description. Alright, another day, more new cards. We've got some interesting ones here today. The first one is Albus Pharaohs, revealed by the Riftbound Community Discord server. This is an interesting card. It's a yellow unit for 4 energy, 0 power. It's got 3 might. That's pretty bad rate for its cost, but you're not playing it for its might. It says, when you play me, spend any number of buffs. For each buff spent, channel a rune exhausted. That's definitely an interesting effect and could be actually quite powerful in the future, but right now it just doesn't really do anything. We don't really have that many ways of getting early buffs. You can pretty much only just get 1 buff on turn 1, and then on turn 2 you play this guy and ramp 1, which isn't actually that bad, but there's just better ways of ramping right now and better ways of spending your energy on turn 2. The only deck you can really play this in is Set, and he just has better options to ramp, and he also has better options to build his board presence. So this card just doesn't really help you that much currently. I'm guessing in the future we're going to get Jace as a playable legend, and he's probably going to be focusing on buffs and ramping. That would be my guess. So this card probably goes in that deck, and we just don't have that deck yet. So potentially in set 2 or in the future we get a deck that's kind of like that. That seems to be what this card is designed for. But yeah, this card is currently just not that great. It doesn't really accomplish that much currently, but it is potentially a good card in the future, and it's always nice to have ramp on a unit so you can develop your board and ramp at the same time, so you don't lose board presence against more aggressive decks that pressure you early and put stuff out on the board quickly to try and run you over in the early game. Another new card we have here is Falling Star. This is a red spell for 2 energy and 2 power, so pretty expensive for a 2 energy spell. It says do this twice, deal 3 to a unit. Yep, that's 3 damage split amongst potentially 2 things. You can also choose the same thing twice to deal 6 to 1 thing, and this can also snipe things in your opponent's base. If you're playing Kaisa, this is 2 energy and 1 power. Yep, this card is quite ridiculous, I'd say. It's extremely strong. 2 energy and 1 power means that if your opponent is playing something like Jinx and gets their super high roll turn 1 where they put 2 units down on the board, you can just kill them. If you're playing Kaisa, the fact that this card is only 2 energy is nuts. The fact that it can snipe base is nuts. The fact that it could kill 2 units with 3 might or a unit with 6 might anywhere on the board is nuts. Against pretty much most decks in the game, this card is gonna be crazy. Against more aggressive decks like Jinx or Annie, or even against something like Master Yi or even Victor that have mostly smaller units in their deck, this card is insane. And even against decks that focused on mid-sized units, as long as they're not bigger than 6 might, this card is also just crazy against them. And you can't even use Defy to stop this card because it costs 2 power. Kaisa isn't paying 2 power to play this card, but it costs 2. So the only counterplay you have to this card is Windwall or drawing spells that pump your units. You can't hold units back in your base to try and dodge this spell because this hits anything. You just have to draw the right cards and pray Kaisa doesn't draw multiple of these. So this card and Singularity probably make Kaisa an extremely strong threat in the game currently. Yeah, overall, this is one of the best cards that we've seen in a while. Extremely strong and definitely makes Kaisa a pretty good deck now. As far as playability and other things go, potentially you could play it in other decks. The 2 power cost is quite expensive, but this card may or may not be worth it. I think it depends on matchup really in what the format is going to look like. But yeah, in Kaisa, just slap 3 of those in the main deck right now. Speaking of Kaisa, we've got another card. This is Progress Day. It's a blue spell for 6 energy and a power that just says draw 4. So if you're playing Kaisa, it's just 6 energy, draw 4. I don't think you play this card right now. Kaisa really doesn't have any trouble drawing cards. Like half of the cards in your deck draw, and you have other draw spells as well that are probably just better than this. It is an interesting card though, and it's nice to have a big draw spell in the format as an option to play. I just don't think you want to really spend this amount of energy just to draw. I think you'd rather do other things like develop your board and remove your opponent's stuff instead. Drawing 4 cards is kind of like overkill. Kaisa usually has like minimum 4 cards in hand at all times, up to like 6 or sometimes even more. So drawing 4 really doesn't help that much. You already have ways of drawing 2, which is probably enough, and most of the cards in your deck either draw 1 or give you a +1 in card advantage in some other way. So I don't really think this card is needed right now. It doesn't really help fix any problems that Kaisa's facing. It just lets her do more of what she's already kind of good at. Maybe if the format shapes up a certain way to where drawing this many cards is valuable and the format is extremely slow, then this card probably will see play because you'll actually have time to spend 6 energy just to draw 4. But right now, I think the format is probably too fast and too board-based to really benefit from playing a card like this. Board presence is really king in this game, and spending 6 to not mess with board presence is not great, at least for right now. So yeah, this card definitely has potential. I think it's a good card. It just doesn't really fix any problems right now and probably doesn't have a place in the format currently. But if the format shapes up to be different than what it is right now, then yeah, this card could definitely see some play. Alright, Fight or Flight. This is a purple spell for only 2 energy. It's got hidden and action. It just says move a unit from a battlefield to its base. That could be your unit, it could be your opponent's. Yeah, I think this card is pretty good. You can play it for its cost of 2, or you can hide it for power to play it as well. So it's really cheap to play this card, and it does something that most purple decks want to do, which is either move your opponent's stuff off of battlefields or protect your units. You can even use it to trigger some move effects of units you have, which is really nice. Yeah, this card is just really versatile. It's pretty good. I think decks like Yasuo and maybe Misfortune as well, maybe Annie as well, probably want to play this card. Definitely Yasuo. Yeah, good card. Very versatile, very strong, very cheap. Does something that color definitely wants to do. Alright, our next card is Dr. Mundo. He's a blue champion for 8 energy and 2 power. That's quite expensive. He's got 6 might, but his might is increased by the number of cards in your trash. So he can get quite big at the start of your beginning phase, recycle 3 from your trash. So he gets smaller over time, but that doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. Blue decks typically have a lot of ways to get cards in trash decently fast enough. So I think by the time this guy gets onto the board, he's going to be quite big, probably bigger than any individual unit your opponent could possibly have, besides another copy of this guy as well. So he basically beats over anything, and he can survive any removal spell that deals damage that we have. He's probably going to be pretty good into certain matchups and extremely bad into other matchups. So I don't think as a main deck inclusion that this card is going to be very good, but in the sideboard for certain matchups, yeah, I could see this card seeing some play. Kaisa has a bit of trouble dealing with really large units, and this guy can help. He is extremely expensive, but I think he gets the job done for actually what he's trying to accomplish. So the card could be potentially playable depending on what decks you're facing in the format, but as a main board inclusion or a boss monster, I don't think this is your guy. So yeah, decent card, potentially playable, kind of fulfills a niche that Blue's been missing. Doesn't really have a giant unit or a way of killing giant units. So yeah, decent card. Alright, that's all we have for today. I'll be posting a ton more videos on card reveals in the future, as well as live streaming gameplay and my live reactions to new cards, all throughout the course of reveal season. So if you want to keep up to date with new card reveals, then you'd better hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you want to start playing Riftbound, you can do so right now with the links in the video description. Alright, that's about all I wanted to say today. Take care.